Hi everybody, this is 1100 and let's make sure this is up. 1185 days. 85 days since Richard vanished from the barracks room there on Fort Bliss, a victim of a code red, victim of bullying, victim of dereliction of duty, victim of abuse of power. You know, it's just, it's so complex because so many things went wrong. So many things went wrong. And, you know, 3 years, 3 years plus, and a lot of help from Team Find Richard Halliday. And we have so much good news from the institutions. And it's bad news, but it's good news as far as moving forward and getting more institutional support, um, because the good news is that the buckets of water are out. The buckets of water are sitting there. And what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about the Wizard of Oz. I'm thinking about the Wicked Witch from the East, and her credibility uh, just disappearing. Her spell, even on her, um, you know, uh, were they monkeys? The flying monkeys? Um, the spell on them, just withering away. They're coming to their senses, I guess, or they're flying away, trying to protect themselves. Um, I don't know. That's just the scene I have in my mind, and the buckets are there, and so Lilani Hart's credibility is fading with the law enforcement community because, uh, from what I can understand, she has been part of the law enforcement community, and that has been her spell, right? Um, what she has manipulated, she's had power over the law enforcement community to retaliate against those that aggravated her, that didn't do what she wanted to do. And she would, she knows the system. She was taught the system, and she would use the law enforcement community to do dirty work for her. And, uh, you know, and so she had this backing. She became Captain Kirk there on Fort Bliss. It became Fort Hart. And she had, a lot of people living in fear or just, listening to her because of, her affair with Special Agent Tavita Nusa, her command over the Fort Bliss CID office. Now this is just, you know, tell me if I'm wrong or right. You can call 941-677-0060. But this is, 3 years and really a good year researching Lilani Hart. And why would I do that? Well, because her notarized confession, criminal complaint affidavit against her husband, who, we've been told, and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but, and I probably should log on to make sure that I'm on, that she wanted to do him harm. She wanted to do him harm, bodily harm. Seems like she was telling a lot of people that. Yeah, I hear everything's going okay. And thank you for coming on. So, uh, she put in this criminal complaint. She had it notarized the 22nd of July, 2020. It was part of Richard's file. This is why she became a focal point in our investigation, because we have been made the investigators, by the command there on Fort Bliss, by the CID, um, all the way up. It's, bring us leads. We can't do anything. Richard's case is cold case. No, it's not a cold case. It's an active case. It's an open case. We're looking into things, and it's like, okay, but you have to bring us leads. We can't find leads. We don't have any leads. You have to bring us leads. So we have done our hardest. We have worked really hard to bring them leads. And we have breaking news today. Breaking news, more leads. And the leads, of course, is that. And this is so heartbreaking. This is so heartbreaking because we knew it for so long, right? We knew it for so long. I remember yelling at Special Agent Soto. Here he is in charge of our son's case. And I want to pause before I get into the breaking news and tell you about our son's case. Richard was an aspiring law enforcement. He wanted to be an investigator, a private investigator, or with law enforcement, an investigator. So he became part of that CID community. He became a whistleblower. Things were a bit crazy politically. Things were a bit crazy in the military because the military has become political, very political. And Caleb Smither, in January of 2020, was found dead in his barracks room. But it's really shocking when you find out about his story, because he was in the 5th stage of decomposition in his barracks room. So that means there's some dereliction of duty. Okay. That's very plain. That's in January of 2020. In April, and I'm just hitting a few of them that I normally hit. In April of 2020, Vanessa Guillen goes missing. But she's a whistleblower, okay? She's a whistleblower. She goes missing. They tried to make her AWOL. Her family does not accept that, thank God. And they go and rally. They fight to get the information. And it's a fight. While they're fighting, Enrique Roman Martinez goes with some battle buddies to an island off of North Carolina to get away from the COVID madness, insanity, get to nature a little bit. And the next thing we know, he's been murdered. His hair pulled out, his eyes gouged out. And why do we know that? Because we only have his head. His head washes ashore. We don't know where his body is. Okay. That's in May. In June, Austin Hawk, a whistleblower, is begging for protection. He's getting threats for his whistleblowing. He's getting bullied for his whistleblowing. And he whistleblowed on narcotics, okay? The story, the way the media puts it out, I hate it because it doesn't make sense. I guess they think we're stupid or something. But Anyway, he's a whistleblower, and I know that he was requesting protection. The unit didn't protect him. And matter of fact, the unit didn't protect Fort Stewart, which I think has a new name. But anyway, they didn't protect it. They didn't protect their soldiers at all because they allowed a former former sergeant to just collaborate with the CQ, travel across the country, back across the country, get free access in the middle of the night onto Fort Stewart, get free access into the building through the CQ because the CQ collaborated with him, right? Co-conspired with him, and gave him access to the building. There was no forced entry into, this is midnight, into Austin Hawke's room. And a huge battle. You know, like the closet door was pulled off the hinge because Austin Hawke was trying to hide in the closet. Because there was a failure to protect a whistleblower. Just like with Vanessa Guillen. And they're still looking for Vanessa, okay? They're still looking for her. The Texas EquiSearch are still looking for her. They find the Pelican case. The CID calls off the search. They find the Pelican case and they call off the search. This is what's happening as Austin Hawke is being slaughtered in his barracks room. That the CQ gave access to the murderer to do. And not one soldier in that barracks, not a one, felt safe enough, felt brave enough to call the MPs. Maybe they didn't feel confident in the MPs. Maybe they didn't feel confident in the CID. Maybe they felt in danger. We don't know the reasons. I mean, I'm sure that the CID and on base, the generals or whatever, that they know the reasons why not a one called for help. And Austin Hawke had to fight for his life with nobody helping him. As he lay on the floor in his room, and the sergeant, the murderer, who's in prison now, leaves the room. You know, he has injuries. He's bleeding too. Leaves bloody footsteps in the hallway of the barracks. All right. The CID missed those footprints, okay? They missed those footprints. But he leaves. It's not one person goes in there to render aid to help Austin Hawke. Not a one. Because the CQ was in on it. The CQ was in on it. And, you know, let's say there's 20 that knew, maybe 10 that knew. And they didn't feel like they could overcome and arrest that CQ because they knew, because of the threats that were happening before. And they have phone messages. They were messaging each other. They had it in for Austin Hawk. And this was going on when there was a search for Vanessa, and they found the Pelican case. And this is when things are going a little crazy because, oops, there's Enrique's head washing ashore. And then all of a sudden, something amazing happens. Some line workers, cable line workers, electrical line workers, I think that's what they were, saw animals digging around this area next to the Leon River and says, what's over there? What's over there? What are the animals doing? There's a lot of animals over there. And they call for assistance, and lo and behold, under concrete, under the dirt, under the concrete, under the lime, are the dismembered, burnt up, bludgeoned remains of Vanessa Guillen. They announced that July 5th, I believe, that yes, they have identified those remains and they are Vanessa Guillen. You know, I don't know why the media is on these evil people's side. I don't know. I don't know why, for money, for power, that kind of deal with the devil absolutely will come back to haunt you. And yes, they had to report somewhat on Vanessa Guillen because they had no other choice. Somewhat, a little bit, in a very manipulated way, they reported on Enrique and Caleb and Austin and others. I don't know why they will cover political stories, other countries, soldiers or people getting bombed, bludgeoned, whatever. And they're like in this moral outrage. And yet, right here at home, on our own military installations, the most horrible things are happening. And they seem to think it's necessary to cover it up, to report on it in a lightweight fashion, or not report on it at all. Because Richard then went missing. And he didn't just went missing, y'all. They absolutely knew, because they found his remains very early on. They knew. It's their job to know. It's the people talk in El Paso. And the media knew that Richard had been murdered. They knew. They have contacts everywhere. And their jobs that are connected to contracts and government and all of that rule them. And I have to give that kind of environment before I talk about our breaking news today. Because when Richard went missing, it was in the wake, in the turmoil. It was really in that hurricane, the blizzard, the earthquake of Vanessa Guillen, of Austin Hawke, of Caleb Smither, of Enrique Roman Martinez. It was, clear that there was a systemic problem, that there was, um, you know, uh, abuse of power, there was criminality in leadership positions. It was very clear because you had the CQ and you had the soldiers being scared against one CQ. I don't think so. I don't think so. But the fact is, not one called. And lives were lost because of that. Not only Austin Hawks, but other lives were lost because of that. Okay. And I know about it, and I haven't really reported on it. Um, but yes. And this is all unnecessary because we depend on our law enforcement to do oversight. We depend on our media to do oversight. We depend on our leadership to obey the standard operating procedures, to obey the oath, to honor the oaths that they take, to be a selfless servant. But it seems that these generals, like Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, I can't even believe he got a 3rd star. I can't believe it. He is like so low to me. Um, I feel so. I can't even believe they gave him Fort Cavazos, Fort Hood. I can't believe it. Do you know what that means? Do you know what that means? That he was given c- command over Fort Hood after doing what he did at Fort Bliss? It's just, hell no. Hell no, I will not go and follow you. You're on your own, General. You're on your own. That's what my mind would think if I was a soldier. Because I'm not going to hell with you. No, I'm not going to hell with you. Um, that's just what's on my mind when I think of him. And in that, and let's talk about Lieutenant General Donna Martin, who we depend on because she's IG, right? She's IG now. She was given a 3rd star and command over IG, Inspector General of the Army. Um, wow. Do you know what that means? Do you know what that means? We it's just and in all of that evil, um goodness wins. There's always, my oma told me, when you think everything is dark, from somewhere a little light comes, always, and it shines brighter and brighter and brighter. And the darkness cannot understand the light, right? The darkness cannot understand the light, and the darkness cannot overcome the light. And today's breaking news is about darkness, but it's also about light. So we have confirmation from the law enforcement community. Um, we have, and I told this yesterday, and I have more breaking news, that special agent that was in charge, right, of the Fort Bliss CID when all this was happening under Donna Martin. Remember, Donna Martin was the 2-star general over CID, and all of that mess, leading a CID that can't even see bloody footprints in the hallway of a barracks where a soldier lost so much blood because he was allowed to bleed out all night that it was a lake, and it seeped through. It seeped through, and they missed the bloody footprints in the hallway. Oh, the lighting wasn't too good for us as CID. She's in charge of that. The same CID that said, "Oh, you mean Texas EquiSearch found the Pelican case that had Vanessa Guillen's blood on it? Oh, we have to call off the search. Let's call off the search." That same Donna Martin, that got a 3rd star and got a command in charge of IG, she was in charge of the CID. Okay? That same CID, Donna Martin, that spoke with us, that came down and led a staged task force find Richard Halliday, spoke with us on the phone before she came. Oh, yes, with guess who? General McConville. It's they were together. I have Major General Donna Martin sitting next to me. She's going to come down to Fort Bliss and she's going to establish a task force, find Richard Halliday. No op board, no uniform. I'm just going to wear my braids and sit like an Indian in the middle of the room without an op board, and let's hear about Richard. And we, that day, sprung a little surprise on them. We brought the evidence of the leaks with us. And we said something is not right with the CID. There is a leak. There is a leak. Something is not right. And we read it all off. We gave in front of everyone, the 15 plus agencies, in front of Donna Martin, in charge of the CID, right? In front of Bernabe, in front of General Bernabe, and they allowed Special Agent CID Marlon Soto to police himself, to come and get our evidence and say in front of everyone, even the FBI, that he was going to take care of it. He was going to take care of it. And then we get in black and white yesterday, in black and white, that the way Marlon Soto handled it was to misrepresent the information in our son's case. To misrepresent the information, to botch the entire case. We have it in black and white. To protect Tavita Nusa, who was a special agent at the time, who was engaged in an extramarital affair with convicted criminal mother of First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, Leilani Hart. To protect them, who was actively manipulating and tampering with our son's file, having access to her own uh, criminal record, so she could, uh, conceal it, right? To conceal what was really going on. And this, so the law enforcement now is saying, wow, Leilani Hart, well, she's the Wicked Witch of the East. She's not the Wicked Witch of the, or the, she's not the Good Witch of the West. She's the Wicked Witch of the East. We got to get our pails of water out now because she's bringing us down. She's bringing us down with her continuous need to bring chaos and harm to others. And what is the ingredients to a murder? The continuous need for deception and assault, chaos, and harm to others. The disregard to others. The disregard to Fort Bliss, the disregard to the institutions, the disregard to the El Paso community. This is Leilani Hart. The disregard for her family, the disregard for her good friends' children that she allowed to be, well, the 7-year-old anyway, who knows what happened to the younger one, to be sexually assaulted in her master bedroom by her very violent, like, and these are my words, but he bought illegal weapons and he's threatening me and telling me he could just shoot me at night, and it's as simple as that. And I want to do him harm too, and just total chaos. Total chaos. Oh yeah, and by the way, he's engaged in incest with my active duty first lieutenant's son. Total chaos. And now, and that's what Tavita Nusa was having an affair with. Here he is married. He's a special agent in the CID. Of course, the claims that James Hart in the VA is also having an extramarital affair. It's like, okay, whatever. We don't have any regard for our laws, for our requirements to keep our institutions functioning in an honorable, with integrity, with loyalty, with respect. No, they just want to bring destruction and deception and chaos and manipulation and criminal activity wherever they go. Because leaking our son's file to Leilani is a crime. Giving access, and he could have given it to us, and we have the right. It would have been legal for us to have our son's file, right? Why can't we have our son's file? We have the right to our son's file. Leilani Hart gets access to our son's file. It's already a botched case. Give us our son's file, right? That's how we feel. It's already been leaked out. It's been leaked out to a whole host of people, because I know that, because they were sending me vile, vulgar messages and indications in those messages that they had access to Richard's file and my husband's file. So it wasn't just Leilani Hart that had access. And, Special Agent Soto was in charge. It was his office. It was his office. So that same, derelict, criminal, uh, problem, spirit that we have running through our military installations, um, was just so clear. It was so clear. And now we have it in black and white. In black and white. His misrepresentations of our son's case to not just Leilani Hart, but to law enforcement agencies. He was lying to law enforcement agencies about the situation and the information that was in our son's case. The events, the people, what was happening, and absolutely every case that Marlon Soto has touched needs to be reviewed. Needs to be reviewed. Because soon after Richard came Asia Graham. That needs to be reviewed. And there's lots of other cases. Lots of other cases. Because he now has been deemed, not by Team Find Richard Halliday, which we already have done. We already did that to Bernabe, to Donna Martin, to the 15 plus. We already said he cannot, this is not right. Something is going on, right? And we've already put in a criminal complaint to the Internal Affairs about Marlon Soto. We already have that done. So now we have it in black and white, and the law enforcement agencies are like, what? He has been lying. And we have hard evidence for that now. And what has that caused? Well, more assaults. We have an assault in 22 from Leilani Hart, and we have an assault, this is breaking news, in March of 2023. Like, does she have to, after so much time goes by, she has to get her fix on assaults? She has to, have some kind of chaos and a run-in with, somebody and have a legal issue, have a criminal issue, have some kind of report at the police department, whatever. Well, she did in 2023, in March of 2023. She assaulted somebody. She assaulted somebody. And you know what the good news is? Is that in May of 2023, she went in there and said, I want to file a false claim against the March 23 claim against me. And the law enforcement said, go pound sand. Go pound sand, Leilani. We got your number. We got your number. Go pound sand. And that is the good news in all of this. The little light. The little light that's growing. And it's shining a light on their criminal endeavors to cause chaos and harm in our day-to-day life and with our loved ones. That's what's happening here. And we're very grateful that people are seeing that she's not the good witch of the West. She's the wicked, which the green witch with the black pointy hat, um, that is afraid of water, is afraid of water. Um, and the water I'm speaking about is holy water. So, yeah, the law enforcement told her to go pound sand. That's in May of 2023. So that's really good news for us. And so we're working very hard behind the scenes, very hard, because we had this week was an earthquake, and we have this huge fissure, and it's cracking. And I think this next week, the information is rolling in, rolling in, rolling in. Matter of fact, I haven't even absorbed all of the information that I have been told in the last 24 to 72 hours. I'm still trying to, with Team Find Richard Halliday, digest all this information and figure out how, where it all goes. But we already have the institutional support because of the letter writing. We're just writing letter, 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 because now we have the black and white. We have the black and white evidence, what we already knew. And that is really good. And we're getting extras, like this is a bonus. This May 2023 is a bonus, Go pound sand, Lalani. Woohoo! Yeah, finally. Finally. And so that's gives that's that light growing, and the darkness cannot overcome the light. So please continue to pray. This is huge news. I should go through some of the other breaking news that we have had this week for people that are just now coming on. And I did post, I had the opportunity today to put some of the breaking news through a translator. And so I hope it translates right. Let me know if you speak Spanish, if you are, of course, we have a huge Korean population of Team Find Richard Halliday. So I put it out in both. And I even did the German because of all of our German friends wanting to know how's it going. I cannot believe they've put you through this. I cannot believe that they've put you through this. And it makes our government look very, very bad. It really does. We're an international family. We have tons of friends in Ireland and Great Britain, and also in Germany and in Korea, and we even have friends in Russia because my parents lived 9 years working at the American embassy there in Moscow. And this makes us look so bad as Americans. That our CID, we have to be the ones to expose, with the help of the law enforcement, being patient with the law enforcement, because they know that, you get the right people in and they're like, oh yeah, here it is. Look at what he wrote. Here it is. He's misrepresenting, and he's presenting that manipulation, it's called a false witness, right? The false witness to the law enforcement agencies that are supposed to be helping to look for Richard. Well, they need to look at Leilani Hart. They need to look at former First Lieutenant Platoon Leader Dallas Hart. They need to look at James Hart. They need to look at former First Sergeant Jay Paulin. They need to look at Corinne Adeline West. They need to look at Chris Martin. They need to look at the unit, what they know. They need to come down and re-interview Danae Katzen. They need to re-interview Belen Rocha. They need to go to 3905 Bliss Avenue. They need to go to 3705 Bliss Avenue. They need to go to 3400 Van Buren. They need to interview all of the families, the Rochas, the Ortegas, the Katzens. They need to interview Tanya Katzen. They need to interview Ann Ogle. They need to interview Thomas Kane. They need to interview all of those involved at Park University and there at KTEP and the ones at El Paso Matters. This investigation has been botched. This investigation in black and white has been misrepresented to the FBI, to the law enforcement community, period. And they have just now said to Leilani, go pound sand. We don't want you here no more. And that is, why hasn't she been arrested? Why hasn't she been arrested with so many others? Because the level of crime that they've done, they're continuing to do damage. Look, in March of 2023, and, she's assaulting somebody. She's assaulting. And, go and read the story. I'm sure you can look it up. It is like, what? And 2 months later, she wants to say, I need to do a false claim. No, go away. We have witnesses. Go pound sand. That was really good news for us. So, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm praying for this case to be clarified. Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you so much. And I've been getting some messages telling me thank you so much for putting parts of this story out just in the last couple days in Spanish. And I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. God bless you. You're there in El Paso. You've had to suffer through this in so many ways because Richard's case, the reason why they spent millions of dollars to cover this up is because it's connected to a much bigger case. They're connected. And the Bliss Avenue homes connect those cases clearly. But there is a defense attorney that connects these cases clearly. And, we're just trying to piece everything together because when you start saying something, you need to make sure that what you're saying is accurate. And so we're trying to piece it all together so that we can share with you the information, share to the community there in El Paso, to the military community there on Fort Bliss, and the wider area going into Mexico. Because what is going on affects all that area. And, um, the way I was taught is you leave the place better than you found it. You don't suck the life out of uh, the place where you're at and trample on it and cause chaos and assault people and deceive people and, um, you know, uh, human traffic, uh, film children in compromising positions or being raped or whatever and sell it as pornography, child pornography. I mean, this is, you know, be predators to children sexually, which is torture, is child torture. Um, this is not, I'm sure people of El Paso are sick of it. Sick. And another thing too is to use our agencies, our um, institutions, and manipulate those institutions to go after innocent people, right? This is Lalani's, this is how Lalani had control. She, goes into Park University, and what does she do? Make false claims, false claims, false claims. Well, in that false claim, one of the professors, even though it was false, lost her job. In one of her false claims, the regional director decided to leave. He had to leave. He had to relocate, not Lalani, right? Even though they knew it was a false claim. So in her false claims, she wants to destroy lives. Well, finally, the law enforcement community said, go pound sand. Go pound sand. And I don't know why she's not arrested. Because she's using our trust, our goodwill, our monies put in our institutions and our law enforcement agencies to weaponize them to cover for her criminal activities, her chaos, her assaults, her violence, her craziness. And that's dangerous too, because that's why we can't get to the bottom. Well, we couldn't for a long time on Richard's case. This case should have been boom, 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 done. The same thing with Vanessa's, the same thing with Austin Hawks, the same thing with Caleb Smither, the same thing with Enrique Roman Martinez, which is in a cold case. Why? Why is it a cold case? So, and what other cases have been hurt by the likes of Special Agent Marlon Soto, who allows his special agent to have an affair with a woman that's controlling the CID and Fort Bliss there and unlawfully accessing files, our son's file, covering up her own, concealing, I should say that, concealing her own criminal record. I mean, how many crimes has she committed that didn't even get reported because she had access to this kind of stuff, right? I mean, the brazenness of this whole thing. And do not forget that she is the mother of former First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, Pearly Mercedes-Benz Richards platoon leader. That's what we were told. If you know something different, call 941-677-0060. And do not forget that she is the wife having an affair with Tavita. Well, she's whatever, and it shouldn't be whatever. It should be a big, big deal. But she is the wife of James Hart at the VA with a very serious job of sitting on the health board, having access to veterans and active duty soldiers, all their medical records, all their files, and determining or coaching for favors or for not favors or whatever, while he also is having an affair, so she says, with Lisa Lennon Williams, a co-worker. Sorry, y'all. This is just moral hazard. And when are we going to get a moral backbone to understand that this is what's bringing down our country, that this is what is meant by a nation in decline. A nation in decline is a nation that has no moral backbone. We're just becoming like orcs, where there's no right and wrong. That's why, even the Psalms today, I don't know if y'all read the Book of Common Prayer, but the Psalms for today are rejoicing over God's statutes, over God's law word, because of the unbelievable benefits from them, that you don't have to worry about getting assaulted. You don't have to worry about getting your hair pulled out, your eyes gouged out, your head cut off for wanting to go and see, camp out at an island. That you don't have to worry about getting stabbed 40 times in the head and the neck and left there to bleed out all night. That you don't have to worry about getting hit in the head with a hammer and then stuffed in a pelican case. How did that happen? My husband's like, I don't know how that happened. But, she did get dismembered, burnt, and put in a foxhole. You don't have to worry about that when you have a moral society, because you have oversight. You have leadership that puts their soldiers' lives, their service members' lives in front of their own. They're willing to go down with the ship, right? You have a CID that seeks justice, swift justice. And on and on and on. You can, you know what I mean. I don't have to preach it. But right now, because we're allowing the cover-up of crime over and over again, my goodness, she was committing crime in Hawaii, and her children were seeing her get away with it. And I don't know what happened in New Mexico, at New Mexico State University. I don't know what happened in high school with Dallas Hart. If you know what happened, call 941-677-0060, because let me tell you, just like they have uh, sanitized Richard's file from all the waterless waterboarding that they, the field grade Article 15, that's gone. No sign of it. We have it. But, if they're going to rescind it, um, why didn't they, and this is something I really need to do. They should restore Richard, right? They should restore. Why didn't they let us know and restore Richard to his rightful rank plus some for the years in service, the back pay, yada yada? Why didn't they do that? I mean, they promoted him twice, okay. Um, but if they're going to sanitize, why did they just sanitize for their own selves, for their own safety? You see, this is the thing. So, um, I think that's good news that we have today about the law enforcement telling Leilani Hart to pound sand. That's really good. And I hope that that continues. And I hope that um, it hasn't been an easy ride between the law enforcement and us, because we've been calling them out to wake up, to, take the swirly eyes off, the hypnotism. Look at what's going on. Think about their families. Think about their children. Think about their community. Think about their country. Of course, this is for us, about Richard. But everything has consequences, right? A domino effect consequence. Consequences that are unseen, the seen and the unseen. And, they need to be a little bit more thoughtful about their oaths, honor their oaths, do what is right, and much will be given to them. Much will be given to them. And it might not be a fancy car. I mean, this is just from my Oma. You take a step forward to do the right thing morally, and sometimes you have to pay a price, but much is given to you. And money can't pay for it. Money can't even substitute the joy of your salvation, the peace of mind, the whatever benefits come your way, because much is given to you. My cup runneth over, says David, King David, right? My cup runneth over. So, yeah, I mean, it's late. That's my thinking for tonight, with all of that is coming out, because as happy as it makes us, knowing that we are getting this institutional support, plus having the black and white evidence, lots of evidence coming in right now, that means we get the accountability. But at the same time, it's it's sad that in March of 2023, another person had to be assaulted. Another person had to be assaulted. And if they're willing to assault, if they're willing to be violent, if they're willing to be deceptive, isn't that the wicked potion for murder, violence, and deception. Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Danielle, for your prayers and your love. And yes, I've gotten some feedback about those tactical move storage units. Um, they're at kilometer 29. That is very, very interesting, y'all. Very interesting. So, things are starting to make sense and come together, and we're trying to get these transfers correct. Um, but it's starting to make sense, and it's not pretty. So we need huge accountability in this, and you know, do not forget that Judge Rodriguez, the federal judge in San Antonio, had no patience for the military when it came to the Valvaldi shooter, right? He was Air Force, and the Air Force failed in putting him into the system as having a mental problem, being on medication, all of that stuff. The military failed, and the judge ruled $140 million that the military had to pay, that the Department of Justice had to write out a check to the victims of that shooting because the military was culpable for failing to represent what was going on with that airman. Well, the CID, we have it in black and white, has failed to represent what was going on in our son's case. So that is a very important case to keep in mind. The second is the Natalie Holloway case, where they don't need a body. When you have the evidence that we have, the hard evidence, the circumstantial evidence, the irregularities, that's what you need. That's all what you need. Now, do we want our son's remains? Yes. Are we praying that we get our son's remains? Yes. But we have enough evidence for a jury to convict. And that case is important. So we're looking at some other cases and, collecting evidence to put forth our argument for what happened to Richard. And, we believe when we stand in the court, when we stand in front of the judge, when we have the witnesses on the stand, we will be prepared. We will be prepared. That's what's happening. And, it's all in God's timing, what else he wants to reveal in all of this. So keep praying. And, this is a dangerous game too, because these people have a lot to lose, have lost a lot. And I just want to say we lost more. Where's Richard? We lost more. And we want to know what happened to Richard. And we have every right to know. And if it exposes your criminal life, then thank God. Thank God for Fort Bliss. Thank God for El Paso, because they need to be rid of you. They need to be rid of you. We don't need one more child to be trafficked, to be groomed into the sex cults, to be filmed, to be treated violently. And yeah, and for that to carry on and to carry on. So, and we don't need our taxpayers' money to be used and abused. So, thank you, everyone. And we will be back tomorrow. Keep praying for us, for our safety, and for justice. Justice for Richard. God bless.